Hello and welcome to Stick to the Pod, episode 3. Yes, that's right, episode 3 already. And first of all, I'd just like to say a big thank you to all of you who've liked, subscribed, given me great feedback, sent me messages of encouragement. I've really been overwhelmed. So again, I can only thank you from the bottom of my heart. It does mean a lot. So again, yes, thank you very much. So let's get into the weekend's action that we've just had. I'm not going to say the first weekend, but it was the first weekend for a lot of the teams. I know the season started the week before, but let's just get straight into the weekend we've just had. And we'll start with the early face-off, which was in Nottingham, on the main pad for Nottingham Lions versus the Whitley Warriors. Although at the time of seeing the scoreline and following the game on Twitter as best as I could, and obviously on the Warriors Facebook page that they have, as the game went on and the longer it went, as a close game, the Warriors came out 2-0 winners in this game. I wasn't that shocked when I looked at the bigger picture. You might remember from my first episode when we were talking about the Warriors' scoring depth and players had to step up for the Warriors this year because they lost a lot of goals in Dean Holland and Phil Edgar. 2-0 scoreline suggests that they did struggle to put the puck in the net. I do believe, I think Simpson was missing this weekend. He was with the Paisley Pirates on that two-way deal, which I covered. But yeah, 2-0 Whitley Warriors win against the Lions. Whether that's the massive ice surface or a defensive effort from the Lions, I'm not quite sure there. I know Whitley outshot the Lions quite heavily. But as we get on to later in the podcast where we mention Whitley's result from the Sunday night, I think it is more of the same. The other game that night on Saturday was Billingham Stars against the D-Star Dragons. Now, this was the fixture of the weekend for me. They were playing back-to-back. And again, mentioned in the first episode, if you haven't listened to it yet, please go back and have a listen. It was a bit of a season preview. I actually put the Dragons up there of being a title contender this year. And even though the two results weren't not the way they wanted to start a season, they did have a lot of players missing. A couple of key names were missing. There was no Peter Feluciak this weekend. I believe McKinney had received a 4-game ban after the pre-season challenge games. So not ideal for their preparation for the Dragons. But they still did have a lot of firepower. Jessen's still there. He still started. They've got Jared Dickinson, although I think he was playing back on D, which we'll get to a bit later on. And who am I missing? That's right, Ross Kennedy, he played forward, which I was quite surprised at. I know he's played a lot of D before. I think he's played at Blackburn as D. I think he's went to Leeds and played forward and D. So the scoreline was a 7-2 victory for the Stars on Saturday night at the Forum. But yeah, it was weird watching the Dragons. They were very short on defence. I was shocked to see that they had Carl Bacon on defence for as long as they did. It just became an obvious point of attack for the Stars. They knew where the weak link was, and that's where they attacked time and time again. And I thought Mike Clancy might have just shored that up, put Kennedy at the back with Dickinson, strong pairing, give the defence and the netminder a bit of respite, but it wasn't to be. The Stars attacked that side all night long, and unfortunately, I know I don't want to be critical of Carl Bacon, but he was an obvious target for the Stars on the Saturday night. So yeah, a 7-2 victory for the Stars on the Saturday night. And it does put a bit of a marker down. I mean, granted the Dragons were missing a couple of players to come out 7-2 victors against, but what could be a league title, not a league title decider, but a team that you expect to be up there battling away for the title this year. It was a great performance for the Stars. Captain Michael Elder getting a hat-trick on the night. Sykes getting a couple. Joe Wall's getting a couple. And Sykesy, what can I say about the guy? I was going to give him a little bit of a special mention at the end, but might as well just get it over and done with now. I think this weekend he rocked up his 500 points in all competitions for the Stars, which is just an absolute incredible amount of points and a fantastic servant to the club. But yeah, 500 points for the Stars, that's just amazing. Going back to the Dragons and that defensive performance, yeah, it's just a bit weird. Like, I know you're short on D, but if you've got guys who are experienced playing in defence, surely you've got to put them back there and give your netminder some support, because Cryle played well all night long, but there was just nothing in front of him. And obviously, towards the end of the game was done. Coming out for the third period, the Stars didn't have to do anything. They could go through the motions, play all lines, rest up for the game, which we knew would be a much more difficult game for the Dragons' home opener following night. I don't want to get into too much into the Dragons' performance. Obviously, like I say, it was an away trip for them. It is a bit of a long journey. They were short benched. But yeah, it was a very odd performance. Not what I was expecting from the Dragons. So moving on to Sunday, where should we start? Oh, sorry, my bad. There was actually one other more fixture on the Saturday. Not an NIHL North One league game. However, it did concern one of our teams from that division, and that was the Blackburn Hawks, who were playing in the Northern League this year. Don't know too much about it. I don't know who all the teams are, so I will have to try and fish that information out for you on the next episode or later on in the season, see if I can get some details on who the teams are and results and stuff. But the Hawks were playing the Kilmarnock Thunder, and that turned out to be a 9-6 victory for the Hawks, so plenty of goals for the fans. Defensive nightmare for both teams, a lot of goals being scored, but at least the fans are entertained, and that's what it's about. So moving back on to Sunday, I'm going to start with the Warriors again. They were at home to the Sheffield Scimitars, and as I was saying previously with their fixture against Nottingham, I was shocked following this game through the night. And as it got to 0-0 at the end of the second, I wondered what was going on and whether the Warriors were just going through the motions, knowing that they knew they would get a winner at some point. But 0-0 at the end of the second, still wasn't feeling like it was going to be a shock on the card, but it just became more evident the Warriors' scoring issues are there. Great at the back end, great net minding all weekend, 2 shutouts. That's huge for the net minders, huge for their confidence, and huge confidence for the decor, knowing that they're doing well, they're shutting down well, and they're not conceding many, but they will be slightly worried about the goals they scored or not scored this weekend against a Lions and Skimmers side. You would expect them to beat comfortably. Now, as for the other 2 games, other 3 games, I'm going to go with the Wild and the Lions on the Sunday night. 4-3 Wild win in overtime. Now, I do believe this was a very good comeback by the Widnes Wild. And I wasn't too sure what they'd be like this season. They do look weak, weaker than I've seen them in this division. Probably the weakest they have been in this division. I know they first came along and they were quite a strong side. I think they've even won the NIHL North Cup, surprising a few sides when they were very, very strong. Glad to see that they signed a couple of 2-ways in Harrison Walker and I think, is it Luca Tasadri is the other netminder. They're both on 2-ways with Leeds, so I'm assuming one will be with Leeds, the other will be playing for Widnes and alternating that role down in Widnes, so they're both getting plenty of ice time still. Yokoyama scoring for the Lions, as you'd expect. His season's up and running. Now, you know what you're going to get with Yokoyama. He does play on that edge, and I love players that play on the edge. He plays on that edge, maybe goes a bit too far at times, which could hurt the Lions or cost the Lions from winning games, but you certainly don't want to take that away from him. I know he's had a few penalty minutes over the weekend, which he probably could have done without, but like I say, you don't want him losing that edge. I'd like to mention actually the game winner for the Widnes Wild as well, young Carl Carruth. Saw him play for the Solway Sharks last year. Or was it the year before? And last year, I know he was on a 2-way as well with Edinburgh last year. He's called in a card. He pulled in his card up from Scotland and seen who he can bring down. And Carl Carruth certainly one to watch. And scored a blinder of a goal. The other fixture that went to overtime on Sunday, Solihull Barons 4, the Blackburn Hawks 3. And I think I was shocked at this one as well. I wasn't quite sure what type of side the Solihull Barons are going to be this year. Still none the wiser. I'll be looking forward to seeing them on Sunday, see what they're like. A lot of unknown names for myself. Yes, they've still got the big names that we've all heard of. Your Dan Mulcahy, your Phil Mulcahy, your Nicholas Otterson, your stalwarts there. Those 3 guys were actually on the score sheet for them. Old man Davies on the score sheet again for the Hawks. He's still banging goals away for Blackburn Hawks. He must have a fair few for them now. And as you expect too from Adam Barnes as well. He's going to light the lamp some this year and will win games for Blackburn single-handedly. He's that guy. He's that game changer. So I still expect, even after this little setback, I still expect the Hawks to be up there battling away. Solihull, like I say, there's a lot of new faces there, some of which I need to do a bit more homework on. I'm unfamiliar with quite a few of them. 2 overtime results on a Sunday. Nice to see games being nice and close and tight in the division. It just shows how tight the division is going to be. To be fair, all the fixtures other than the Stars D-side result this weekend were all close games. I mean, Whitley 2-0 on the Saturday night. They missed an open goal, an empty net goal from about a metre out. That's out on social media somewhere if you want to go and have a chuckle at that. But you just a lucky bounce for the Lions in the back in the game in that one. 3-0 for the Warriors on the Sunday night. Again, a lucky bounce or a bounce that goes against the Warriors, and Sheffield are in that game, and you just don't know. 2 overtime games. Like I say, you don't get much closer than that. And then obviously the Sunday game was the last Sunday game was the Stars and D-side playing out their second game of the weekend, and it was 8-3 winners for the Stars. I know the Stars were 3-0 up and kind of lost that 3-goal lead with a couple of power play goals, bit of sloppy play, but the fourth goal went 4-3 up. And then didn't really look back. Got into the third period after a huge delay of trying to get the ice to freeze, or the water to freeze, I should say. A long break. I think it benefited the Stars more than it did the D-side Dragons, who were starting the period on the power play. And the Stars just scored goals in bunches. It's what the Stars do. They did it last year, and they've done it on a couple of occasions this year. They do score goals in bunches. Sykesy getting a couple. Mossy got a couple. But yeah, another statement win for Stars. So I'll just quickly go through those results again. Stars 7, Dragons 2, Lions 0, the Whitley Warriors 2. The Sunday we had D-side 3, Stars 8, Solihull 4, Blackburn Hawks 3 after overtime. The Widnes Wild 4, the Nottingham Lions 3 after overtime. And the Whitley Warriors and the Sheffield Scimitars 0. And obviously we have the Northern League game of the Blackburn Hawks 9 and Kilmarnock Thunder 6. The one thing I have noticed looking through my list of results here is the goal scorers. It is the guys who you'd expect to see. Michael Elder's got 3 this weekend. Sykes, picked up 4 goals for the Stars this weekend. Ross Kennedy looks like he's going to be there or thereabouts on the scoring chart. He's picked up 3 goals this weekend. Scored a great end-to-end goal. I think it was a game-tying end goal. The 3rd goal on the Sunday night for D-side, end-to-end. Shouldn't have been given the time or the space, but again, he still finished it off. Great goal. Solihull, Hawks, again, your usual suspects. Dan and Phil Mackay, Nick Otterson, the ever-present Davies for Hawks scoring again, Aaron Davies, and then obviously Adam Barnes. And then you can see for the Lions, Yoki Yama scoring as well. So like I say, your usual suspects, the guys who you'd expect to see on the scoring charts. So it'll be interesting to see who the top 3 is come end of the season. But it'll definitely be probably one of those names that I've already mentioned. For my money, it'd be your Sykes, your Adam Barnes. That'd be 1 and 2 maybe. Who am I missing? I think Ross Kennedy could be up there. I think I mentioned in the last pod was Kieran Beach. I think he's started the season well. 3 or 4 goals. Jets didn't play this weekend. So yeah, that's last weekend's results. Looking forward to this weekend a little bit more. I think we'll see a bit more of a who's who this weekend. Everyone's spread out and playing. The fixtures are just a better weekend for the fixtures, and I'm going to have a little bit of a rant at that about the fixtures once I've gone through this weekend's. So I'll start on the Saturday. I'll just work from the top of the list, not in alphabetical order or anything. But it's the Hawks versus Stars. I'll be there, so I'll get my first look at the Hawks, see how they're doing, see how they are defensively. I think you remember me saying they are quite stacked in the forward department, defensively, netminder. Not so sure. The jury's still out there for me. Sheffield Barons, you've got to expect a Barons win, even with a roster that I'm not too familiar with. Jets D-side, I think that'll be a fantastic game. That could be potentially the game of the Saturday. The whole Jets are at home to the D-side Dragons. D-side, I heard, will have 4 or 5, maybe up to 7 players back. And I have seen pictures already this week. Belusi was back on the ice, so that'll be massive for them. It'll just depend on defensemen, which is what they need more than anything. Maybe they do make that tactical change and have Jared Dickinson and Ross Kennedy both playing at the back there. The other fixture is the Whitley Warriors versus the Widnes Wild. So like I say, we'll find out a bit more of these teams. We'll find out what the Wild are like going to Whitley Bay, what they're going to be like on the road. And the Jets D-side, like I say, potentially probably the game of the weekend, never mind just the Saturday. And the other fixture being the Hawks and the Stars. Moving on to Sunday, I finally get to see the Solihull Barons and see some of those players that I'm unfamiliar with and see what they're all about. And should be able to give an assessment on them, whether I think they are going to be mid-table, challenging, or maybe down there with the usual suspects. The game of the Sunday for me is going to be D-side versus Whitley. I think that's going to be an absolute barn burner, if I'm being honest. I mentioned this with the D-side GM when I saw him this weekend. I know Sean, I get on with him quite well, and I said that will be a great game for them. I fancy a D-side win. If they're back to full strength, I do. I fancy a D-side win. Who else do we have? We have the Widnes Wild and the Hawks. Always a tasty game with these two. Always a battle, especially a Widnes. Always seems to be a close game, a well-fought game. So it'll be interesting to see if we get some highlights after the weekend for that game, because I think it will be another top game. And then the other one, the big derby, Nottingham Lions versus the Sheffield Scimitars. I think it's a 50-50 game, if I'm being 50, maybe 51-49 in the favour of the Lions. Yokoyama could be the difference. If he can control himself, could be the difference in that game. But yeah, a couple of standout fixtures for this weekend. Like I say, I think we could learn a lot more about the league only in its second or third weekend. Well, basically it's its third weekend. We could learn a lot more about some of these teams and maybe start to see how the table starts to form. It won't form too much because of the way the fixtures are going. And this is where my rant comes. The Stars, one game into a 5-game road trip. How does that happen this early in a season? 5 away games on the bounce. Crazy. And this is back-to-back away games as well. From the first weekend starting, the Stars have had 4 double headers, I think it is. Widnes, I think they've only had the one game. Jets didn't even play last weekend. So yeah, the amount of games that some teams have played from 1 to 4 is a bit crazy. But how you can have a team, a 5-game road trip is absolutely madness at this level. And not even from the team's point of view of having to pay out all that money for coaches, had not many home games to bring in some revenue to help pay for those coaches. What about the fans as well who like to travel? That's expensive. D-side. So Ala went to D-side last Sunday, Blackburn on Saturday, Solihull on Sunday, Nottingham next Saturday. That's an expensive do without a home game. No respite. Good job we love our teams. But yeah, a bit crazy the fixtures. But yeah, we've got some beauties to look forward to this weekend. Let me know what you're looking forward to. Drop me an email at sticktothepod@gmail.com. Leave me a message on the Facebook or Twitter pages. But yeah, let me know what you think, how the season's going to go from your point of view. Let me know if you got some results on the weekend. Or just let me know if you've got any questions or if you want anything for a bit of a general chat. I love talking hockey. I'll talk hockey all day long. If there's any other topics out there that you'd like me to cover or look into, like I say, I will try and get a bit more on that Northern League information. I might drop Carl a message at Blackburn, see if he can get me some sort of data of what's going on in that division, say how Blackburn are doing, and get some point scorers, and see if we can get maybe some game sheets to us what's going on, and see if there's any names up in the Scottish division for us to look out for. And on that note, I think we'll call it time there. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you for the kind words, and I'll speak to you again next week. Hello, yes, me again. Yes, I'd already said goodbye, but unfortunately, while editing, the NIHL decided to whack out some news for us. So, as I was saying about the Solihull Barons and the Blackburn Hawks game being a 4-3 overtime win to the Solihull Barons, all things change. The Barons iced an ineligible player, a player who was suspended last year and was given 2 games, iced in this game, and so therefore the Hawks have been awarded it 5-0. So a little adjustment, a little change in the league table. The Hawks get an extra point. Barons still have none, so we're still none the wiser to what this Barons side is actually like. Obviously, we can still use the score as a guide, but it doesn't exist anymore. 5-0 Blackburn Hawks. Barons iced an eligible player. Obviously, won't be playing this weekend. And I believe one of the coaches also takes a ban for it as well. So that's it. That is everything this time. That's the final cut, and it should be out with you in a couple of hours. Cheers.